Okay, everybody. I need to make a couple final adjustments. Hopefully the volume is okay. I am going to punch it up just a little bit. I have been watching some previous streams and I've noticed that the output has been a little suspect, if that makes sense. So let me make some final adjustments here. I am going to crank it up just a little bit. Check. And I'm going to try this one. I can't change all these until I actually go live, if that makes sense. But I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. If you can't tell, we have a Epiphone. Check this thing out. And this is the Epiphone SG-Pro. Okay. And this was sent in from a viewer and a moderator. So this is Steve's guitar. I don't know if Steve's in the chat right now. He said he had some business to do, that he might be late. But this is Steve's guitar. And he sent it to us for review. And he also ordered a case for it. And the case is directly behind me. He wants to make sure that it returns to his home in one piece. Now, the case he ordered is a little tight. It is not the Epiphone case, but Sweetwater said that this was a direct fit for the case. It is a little tight, so keep that in mind if you order an SG and you get the Gator case. This particular Gator case is a little snug for the guitar. It has a lot of room this way in the case, but it is very snug crossways in the case. If you're familiar with the channel, what we do here is we do live, well, if you're not familiar with it, we do live reviews of instruments, okay? Everyone nowadays works really hard for their money, and let's face it, things have gotten really pricey. So we like to try to find guitars that are a good value for what your hard-earned money is purchasing, okay? Everyone knows about the budget brands, okay? Everyone knows about the high-end brands, but there's the brands that kind of fall in between. Let's say Gibson, their economy line is Epiphone. When you say the bad word right now, Fender, their economy line is Squier. Now, these companies do own other brands, like Gibson also owns Kramer, okay? Fender also owns EVH, makes EVH. They also own Charvel. So it gets kind of funny when you start reviewing different guitars at different price points. This particular guitar, believe it or not, I've been playing for 30-some years. And before this guitar showed up to the house, I had never played an SG. Not a Gibson, not an Epiphone, not a clone, not even a guitar that was modeled after the SG. Angus Young. When I look at an SG, I think Angus Young. I mean, look at it. This is the guitar that he made famous, and some other artists have made this guitar famous. I can't, and you guys are going to shoot me, I can't remember the guitarist's name that was in the Black Sabbath originally. He played an SG. Post in the comment section. Now, we are streaming on 2 platforms, and I've never done that before, so the only chat that I have up is YouTube. So, if you're watching on Facebook, you can also watch on YouTube, and the channel is Music and Gear, or you can just chill out in Facebook, and someone will, maybe Linnell will pull it up in Facebook, and if there's any comments or questions there, we can hit those too.
I can switch back and forth.
Yeah, I don't expect that we'll get anyone on Facebook, because this is the first time we've ever streamed on Facebook.
Well, as of right now, you have 2 watching on Facebook.
That's too freaking funny. If you're on Facebook, we have been doing this on YouTube for over 3 years, and we wanted to grow the channel a little bit. So We're looking at Spotify, Facebook, Twitch, and all these other platforms to kind of get this information out. I believe this channel does one of the best reviews on YouTube. And let's expand that to Twitch, Facebook, and some of these other platforms. The last thing you need to see is some guy just picking up the guitar and wailing on it. Let's get right into it. This is an Epiphone SG-Pro. If you're familiar with the channel, now we're going to look at the fit and finish on this guitar and see how well the guitar was actually manufactured. Now, technically this guitar is used. Steve bought this product off of Reverb. So I don't know if it's used, okay, or as it is right now, the market's in bad situation. Retailers are really feeling it. So they're selling a lot of new product as used or open box. And why did they do that? They do that to get around the manufacturer's MAP price. The manufacturer says this is the minimum advertised price that you can do on this guitar, okay? And they have to sell it at that. So to get around that, they open up the box, get the guitar out. Now it's open box. So I don't know if this was an open box or if it is truly a used instrument. So let's, first of all, let's kind of look over the guitar. The SG is a slab body. If you kind of look, it's very similar to like a Telly. It's a flat top. There's no curve to it. They have put a small chamfer right here on the horn section, and that's it. Everything else on the guitar is very utilitarian, okay? It's a flat surface. Now, this is mahogany. And since this is Epiphone, I was thinking there would be multiple pieces of wood. Now, looking at this top, I don't know if you can see it. There's no seam, okay? Looking at the back, there's no seams. Now, a lot of times what they can do is they can put a veneer, okay? So what they'll do is they'll take 3 pieces of wood, they'll piece it together, and then they'll take a 1/16 inch veneer and apply it to the top and the bottom of the guitar, and it's really hard to see that seam line. In this case, I don't think so, because we have a really defined chamfer right here, and I'm not seeing a laminate line right here. And if I look at the grain of this body goes into this chamfer and around. I know you guys are like, it's a big piece of wood. Yeah, it's an Epiphone. So it's a budget instrument for Gibson. To have a solid one-piece mahogany body on a guitar at this price point, I'm going to say, I mean, I really can't see a seam. I do not see a seam in this guitar. I'm going to say this is the cheapest guitar I've ever seen at this price point with a solid one-piece body. It's that's impressive at this price point. The last time I checked, this guitar is $599, so pretty inexpensive. Looking at the back is completely flat again, and this chamfer continues around the horn. Now this is a set neck where the body is glued and set into the body of the guitar. And we do have an electronics cavity here, and they put 5 screws in it. And something I've noticed about this, it actually has a concave where they've counterbored for these screws. And normally when they counterbore this, let me switch cameras and you'll get a better view here. We don't want that camera. So let's switch cameras again. There we go. So if you look right here, okay, they've actually coned this plate out, but then they've used panhead screws. And checking it, you can hear there's some deflection there and right there. So, I don't know. Maybe they should have spread these out a little more. They do have 5 screws on it. It's not going to go anywhere. but there is a little bounce right there. Now feeling the cover to the body, this is well done. It's above the body here about a 64th, and it's completely flush everywhere else. And none of this hardware is sharp. It's done very well right there. Flipping the guitar over, we have a standard ABR bridge and tailpiece. Now from the factory, the strings go in through the back, forward, over the ABR bridge, and up. If you decide to fish the string in this direction and go over the soap bar, okay, it's going to change the rake angle. I know some people like to do that, but on this particular guitar, if you look at the rake angle coming out of the soap bar over the ABR, it's pretty gradual. So if you do decide to go over the end piece here, you're not going to have much rake angle. So you may end up having problems with the string slipping out of its little notch right here. Okay. Now this ABR bridge, they put the fine tuners to set your intonation. They're on the front. Okay. Right there. And it looks like we have a rear, 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 and then on the treble, 3 treble strings, they flip the saddles around the opposite direction. So the saddle's made like this. So the high strings, it's this way and then back, and your bass strings is this way and then forward. Okay. So if you have one of these guitars, and let's say you're right here, okay, and that saddle's forward and it kicks back, and you move this saddle back and it will not intonate, you'll need to take the screw out of the ABR bridge, flip that saddle around and reverse it, and that'll give you another 1/8 inch of playroom to get the intonation of the guitar set correctly. Okay, so that's a little trick. Looking at the soap piece, there is no set screw to move this back and forth to change the rake angle. It is locked. It's all the way down. There appears to be an adjustment screw here and here to raise this bridge for your total action height. Each individual saddle does not have an action height, so if you want to change the radius of your strings, you will have to grind into these saddles because you can only pivot the bridge this direction. Okay, looking at the pickup rings, I mean, this is a slab cut body, so of course they're going to fit nice. I don't feel them bouncing, you know. There's a screw in each corner. Feeling the screws. Screws feel okay. Your upper screws to adjust your pickup height or a smaller diameter. We want to check and see how the pickup feels. It's quite solid. Now when I push on it this way, the pickup does not return to 0. Now this direction pushing, it does not tilt, but it does tilt towards the bridge. Feeling this pickup, it does the exact same thing. So let's put our screwdriver in here and just see how much playroom is in this pickup. So the screw does spin freely. Let's check this one. Yep, it's free. That one's free. This free. And that one's free. So I think we're good there. Now I want to check the space from the pickup down to the strings. We're going to 0 it. We're going to start in metric. .98 on the low E. .31 on the high E. For that pickup, the bridge pickup, 3.32 high E. And 3.97 on the low E. I need to actually get a rule because this isn't very accurate for doing that. Pickup height is kind of taste. How I set mine is when I switch position, you know, the treble or the neck position, center position, and bridge. When I go between the bridge and the neck, I want the volume to be about the same. So, you know, I'm not going to mess with these. We're going to listen to it the way it's set up. But that's how I set up pickups. I know some people claim they're golden rules that the pickup should be X height off the string when you place it here. You know, if you're playing open chords, if you look at how much deflection is in the string there, okay? So if I measure the height pressing the G on the E, it's going to be different than if I come down on the 22nd fret, if that makes sense. So I think it's all relative. Looking, we do have a scratch guard right here. It's tight. I don't feel any deflection on it. It is a 3-piece, so it goes, actually, it's a 4-piece. It's white, black, white, then black again. Filling our screws. Yeah, all the hardware feels nice. And they have put a piece of plastic on top of this, so, you know, when it was in the store and people pick it up and play it, the scratches don't affect it. You peel this plastic off right here. So that's still on the guitar. That's what makes me wonder if the guitar is actually used. It may just be an open box. I'm not sure. Looking at our chamfer here, they have rolled this over to the forward edge. And this is just a slight break around here. It's about an 1/8 inch round over. And then it hits this chamfer. And it's about the same break on this chamfer. It's very crisp. I will say this, the finish on the guitar is really nice. You know, for mahogany, when you put this red color on it, I don't see any blotching. There's these blotches in the color. Even on the end, it's done rather well. It takes a lot of prep work to get a piece of mahogany. You can see it right here, just a little bit difference in the darkness in the end grain. But feeling the contour, what I'm doing right now, I'm feeling for chatter because this was machined on a NC router. So if it's done too fast, the machine will chatter and leave chatter marks. And then what the manufacturer will do, if it chatters, they'll come back with a DA sander and sand it. And that takes the chatter out, but now you've lost this nice, sharp, flat, clean edge that the CNC machine gives you. So I'm feeling this one. This one feels really good. Any spot where they could come in here and do sanding errors, yeah, I don't know who's making this guitar for Epiphone. This one says made in Indonesia. I was under the assumption that the Epiphone was made in China now, but this one says Indonesia. So I'm not sure if this is a Cort manufactured guitar. What's the serial number? Well, they're using like a Gibson, so it doesn't say IC. Usually IC means Cort. So this might be Samac, could be Cort, or could be Epiphone's own little company or shop that they've set up. I'm not very familiar with Epiphone. Going down our neck, feeling the end of our frets. I don't feel anything sharp. This guitar has a basic fret dressing. Oh, we do have one right there. That one has just a little bit of an edge. 6th fret. Just that one. So we do have one fret that would catch the stocking. And I can actually see the burr on the end of the fret. Right there. Looking at the chamfer on the end of the fret. This has a little bit more of an end dressing than what I see on a lot of sub $600 guitars. A lot of times they just barely chamfer it. It has a nice secondary chamfer. I'm surprised to see that. So instead of this coming in with the fret file and putting a 30-degree or a 25-degree chamfer on it, they've got that chamfer. Then they've come in and put a secondary chamfer around the fret to ease it, and they've sanded and blended that in. That's actually pretty nice for this price point guitar. Looking at our frets, I'm looking for scratches, tooling marks. And I do see some light scratches in the frets. I'm not going to say that that's from the fret file because it's really, really fine. So I'm going to say when they dress the frets with the sandpaper, like 800 grit, that's what you're seeing. And it has a very light polishing. Because these frets, they're not super shiny. They're more of a matte finish. But I do see tooling marks, if that makes sense. And I don't think it's necessarily from the tool. I think that's from sanding. But feeling the frets on the strings, they feel smooth. So unless we find some high frets where they didn't get the frets level, I'm going to say the frets on the way they're dressed and cleaned up, I'm going to say is above average for this price point. Looking at our nut up here, want to feel how flush it is to the neck. It's done well. I feel a little bit of an edge here, but it's not bad. And we do have a binding going down our fingerboard. Feeling it to the stain back here. I can't feel the binding. It's sanded and done very well. Now since we have a red stain, I'm looking for any bleed over. It's masked off really nice too. What's sad is this is done better than every Gibson that I've seen in the last 3 years. Every Gibson I look at, there's always bleed in the tape from where they stained the neck and painted the body. I don't see any on this guitar. Even up here at the nut. It's done really well. Feeling the back of the neck, this does have a high gloss finish on the back of the neck. So if you sweat, odds are it may get sticky. This could get sticky if you're playing out live under lights. Feeling the consistency. Everything feels consistent. This guitar also does not have a volute right here. That was something Gibson added due to the headstocks cracking and shearing off the necks. So they beefed up the wood right here, and that's why the original volutes were done. They were trying to strengthen this area from the kickback of the neck to the headstock. But this guitar does not have a volute. Okay, looking at our tulip tuners. Each to their own. I was never a big fan of the greenish white plastic tulip tuners. It's very traditional. You can see it has a very traditional style tuner on it. And I have tuned the guitar. The tuners feel smooth. I don't think that they're going to be a high ratio like 20-1. These are probably 16-1. I don't think they're as bad as like 15-1. But I'm gonna guess that these tuners are probably 16-1. But they feel smooth. I didn't feel them jumping and doing anything weird. And the little bit of playing that I've played on the guitar, it does seem to hold tune. I don't think the tuners are slipping. I have noticed that the B and D sometimes on pull-ups, the string pull right here, I believe the nut needs a little bit of clearance on the backside on the D string. And everyone knows, your G, your D, those are your two trouble strings there. So this guitar playing it hard, I did notice that with this guitar. But looking at it, everything looks really good. The inlay work, a lot of these inexpensive guitars, whatever this material is, like Ibanez, it looks really cheap. This right here has some blues, some greens, and some purples, depending on the light. So let me switch cameras one more time, and I'll try to get it to where you can see the shift. Yeah, it's really not showing up on camera. But you do get some blues and some greens in the inlay work. And here's a good view of the back of the tuners. The only spot that I've seen on the guitar, it does have a small ding right there. Okay? And there's some very fine scratches in the finish. Now this is high gloss. So if you look at that, see how it shines? See the shine on that? So these high gloss guitars, they show every little fine scratch. So there's a small spot right here. And everywhere through here is just really fine little teeny weeny scratches. On the top of the guitar, there's a couple really fine scratches through here. And to be honest with you, I've taken guitars, well, I've taken guitars out of the box, looked at them, and didn't see any fine scratches on the guitar, brand new. And literally did a demo like this, played the guitar for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, look on the back of the guitar, and you'll see fine scratches just from your clothing. We're not talking about belt buckle rash, we're just talking really fine scratches. So now let's go over some electronics. I want to look at feel the switch. Feeling the switch, there's quite a bit of jiggle side to side in the switch. You can feel that. When I put it in the lower position, some of that jiggle does disappear. So I'm going to guess, feeling this kind of feels like a box switch, but we can open up the electronics here in a minute and we'll check it. Feeling our controls, our potentiometers. The volume knobs, these two, feel almost friction free. They're butter smooth and they're friction free. They turn with absolutely no resistance. The tone knobs, on the other hand, they feel butter smooth as well, but there's a little bit of resistance in those knobs. So there is a little bit of a difference there. So before we go any further, let's check it out. Let's take these screws out and let's look at the inside of the cavity. We'll be able to look at the routing from the NC process. See how well it was done. I just find it funny that this plate has been bored for cone screws and they put panhead screws on it. It's a little different. And this is an import guitar. So if you're tearing up your hardware, I know I sound like a broken record, you are most likely using the wrong screwdriver. These are not Phillips screws. I know they look like Phillips, but these are JIS, and that JIS stands for Japanese Industry Standard. So you need to purchase a JSI screwdriver, and you will instantly notice that you're not tearing up as many screws. And this is really tight. So on the back of our cover, we do have some shielding. Now I want to look. Okay. Now the reason I'm looking, you have a piece of metal here. This piece of metal only does something if it's grounded. Okay. If you look at our guitar, we're looking for a wire or a copper shielding tape that comes over right where one of these screws go through the body. Okay. That makes contact with this metal foil, and then that piece of copper or the copper wire is bonded to the ground of the potentiometers. That creates active shielding. So this is doing absolutely nothing. So pay attention when you open one of your guitars up at all. This has got shielding on it. It's only shielded if it's bonded to your ground. So in this case, we have no bond. So that means it's really not doing anything. And that would be why the potentiometers feel a little different. I didn't think, but we have push-pulls. Our 2 volumes are push-pulls. So I am going to switch cameras again so you guys can get a really good view of the electronics. So there's our electronics. And you can see this is a push-pull, push-pull. And then 2 conventional potentiometers down here. So our tones are on potential on regular potentiometers. Made in Korea. I'm trying to see the manufacturer of the potentiometer. These are Jinsung. I am familiar with the brand. They're not bad. They're right in line with Hong. Maybe just a fraction better than the Hong. As far as the push-pulls, now our push-pull potentiometers do have the dime size potentiometer, which is smaller diameter, which that means you're going to have less carbon trace on the potentiometer because it's a smaller diameter. So it's not going to be as accurate as the large ones. So this is very similar to what Barnes does. Barnes does the dime size pots with the push-pull on top. Looking at these pots, though, you'll notice right here, oh, wrong camera. Sorry, guys. If you notice right here, this is a JST connection. Okay. So there's a small PC board right here, and they're using this. This speeds up production. So that's a JST. You see the JST connectors? But looking at the solder joints as far as our bond on the grounds and stuff, everything looks pretty good in there. Sorry guys, I keep forgetting some of the camera angles don't always automatically shift. Looking at everything else in here, I mean, see, this is your main pickup wire. So on the end of that, where the red, white, green, black, and your ground comes out, they do have a piece of shrink tubing there because your main ground is just bare wire. So they have put shrink tubing around all that so it doesn't fray. All in all, this is actually done really well as far as the electronics. We just have a standard jack, which I didn't expect to see a pure tone jack, but it's a standard jack. And believe it or not, we do not have a box switch. This is a CRL switch. I doubt very seriously that is a switchcraft, but it does have a CRL switch. I did not know that it had push pulls though. So we do have coil splits going on in this guitar. That's pretty cool. It would probably be advisable for me to look up specs before I look at these guitars. But we all know sometimes these manufacturers get even their own listings wrong. So it's nice to open them up, double check the manufacturers. All these screws feel good. So sometimes, you know, when you get these guitars at the factory, they just kept putting the screw in, they strip out the hole. All these All these screws have a nice solid feel to them, and they get snug. So none of them are stripped out where they were been over tightened. Well, let me get them all in before I say that. That one's good. Yep, they all feel pretty good. Feeling our buttons on the back of the guitar. Now our forward button is right here behind the neck. And then we have one on the butt of the guitar. And this one does spin. This one is solid. So feeling this one. That one does rotate a little bit. So I want to check it. So that one was a little loose, okay? Just a little loose. Going through your guitar, when you put strings on your guitar, just double check your hardware. Double check your output jack. Double check your ring here. Make sure your switch isn't doing this in your guitar. Little tiny things that you can do with your guitar to make sure that it's going to live its life. If this starts getting loose and the switch is moving around in there, that puts stress on the wires, so you're going to start having wire break issues. Exact same thing with your jack. If you're plugging your guitar in, you're tightening the jack, and 2 months later it's loose again, put just a little bit of blue Loctite on the thread, tighten it down, let it set up for 12 hours, and you should be good. Don't use red, because then you'll have to use a soldering iron to heat the metal up to release the red Loctite. But blue's all you need. Some people use purple. I use the blue with good success. It does break free, and you don't have to worry about it getting loose. Last thing I want to check is the push-pull feel. I'm going to say that it feels a little better than a CTS pot as far as the smoothness, but it does not feel as good as a Barnes. But it does have a more positive engagement as far as the click than the Barnes. I think the CTS has a better engagement. So it could be one of those things, sometimes you can't have everything. The Barnes is very smooth, but when it pops in, it's a slight click. The CTS isn't quite as smooth, but when it locks into position, it locks. So this is kind of like in between those two. So if you're familiar with those brands, hopefully that gives you an idea of what this potentiometer push-pull feels like. Okay, guys, I think we're done with the fit and finish, other than looking at our inlays. So these were done on a CNC. So what I want to look at is when they routed this out and the CNC makes this inlay and they put it in, how much filler is around the inlay. So usually right on the end, where it comes to a point, that's where you're going to see filler. So our upper inlay does have just a little bit of black filler right at the shark fin. Looking at the other ones, there's a small misstep on this one. That's a retraction mark. So when the CNC come around, it retracted out. So instead of going back into its mill path, where it already cleared and then retract, it retracted out of the material while it was still engaged to the side of the bit, the cutter. And that's what caused that. So if it did it there, that means, yep, it did it on this one on the opposite side. That one right there. So whoever programmed it did not program a sweep. So when it come down through the sidewall, it didn't traverse in and then retract. Yep, every inlay has one spot. What I find peculiar, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. No, they're all the same. I was going to say, usually they paste copy and just change the routine on the side. So the retract location is all on the left side upper edge. And you can see it. It's just it's a small round dot in filler where that cutter retracted out while it was still spinning. Okay, I think that's going to pretty much take care of our fit and finish. All in all, I'd say the fit and finish on the guitar is really, really good. I mean, we're not talking, this isn't a $2,000 Gibson. Other than the little retract area here, I mean, it's a really nice fit and finish on this guitar. There's nothing that I see that could be better. You got to think they have to make it at a price point. All these edges are done nice. I don't feel anything screwy with the machine work. Everything's down tight. The hardware looks nice. It's got a nice chrome finish. Looking at the chrome on it, is it the best? It's not Gibson chrome, but I think it's better than the budget guitars. It has more sheen, and that's one of those things you're going to have to play the guitar. When you get into guitars that are under $700, the plating is going to be a little thinner. So if you sweat and you have a lot of acid in your sweat, it'll tarnish it. It just depends on how thick it is. That's the main reason why I don't buy guitars with gold hardware. The plating is so thin it wears off, and then it really looks, I think it looks horrible once it starts wearing off. Chrome is a little bit more durable, but on the cheaper guitars, it does wear faster. So this chrome looks okay. I'm going to say it's equivalent to, this price point, if that makes any sense. I've seen some Fireflies that have nice chrome on it. I've seen some Fireflies that are exact same thing with all other budget companies. Sometimes the budget guitar company will source parts, and it's a little better than their last production run. The advantage to Epiphone is they're buying so much, they're pretty stringent on their vendors. So if they get a run of parts that's substandard, and they have problems, that vendor is told, look, it needs to be to this standard. And they buy continuously from maybe 2 or 3, well, I'm going to say 2 vendors. A lot of budget guitar companies will source wherever they can. And that's part of the problem, because there's going to be slight differences in the hardware. So unless you change your programming, okay, a lot of times, this has happened to Firefly quite a bit. They'll change a manufacturer on a pickup or this or that, and then it doesn't fit the routing on the guitar because the guitar was originally built with something else, and it causes problems. Not to say that Epiphone hasn't had it. I think Squire, all these companies like this have had that issue, okay, in the past. I'm just not seeing it on this one. This one seems to be really well built. It's a nice guitar. Okay, our next thing we want to do, this is an SG, and everyone crows about how light SGs are. So I have to take the towel off to get weight. So we are going to go to pound ounces first. Put it on the scale. We have 7 pounds. It's jumping around. I'm going to say 2.6 ounces. That's pretty decent. So let's go over to grams. 3,230. As I move the guitar, it changes the scale. The reason I'm not laying it this way is I'm pretty sure it's neck heavy. Oh no, it'll lay on there. So in grams, we have 3,260. I didn't think it would lay on there like that. We have 7 pounds, 3.8 ounces. So it's not heavy at all. It's quite light. A lot lighter than the Les Paul that I had. That was a little over 9 pounds for that Les Paul. So I can see why artists prefer the SG weight-wise. Okay, guys, let's get some pickup readings. Since this has push-pulls, it's going to take a little longer. Let me see if, which camera. Actually, we're just going to stick with this camera. Going to turn up all the potentiometers to maximum. We're starting out in the bridge position. We're at 20 km and we have 8.36. Splitting the coil gives us 4.18. 20 km. Checking our inductance, or Henrys if you live across the pond. We have 4.73. With the coil split on, we have 2.11. In our center position, 20 km. This is both pickups. We have 4.02. If we just split the bridge, we have 2.71. If we just split the neck, we have 2.66. And if we split both of them, we have 2.02. Checking inductance and Henrys. Both coil splits down, double humbucker, we have 2.33. Splitting our bridge drops us to 1.40. Splitting the neck and leaving the bridge as a humbucker, we have 1.34. And both split, we have 0.99. Going up to our neck pickup. Ohms, we have 4.22. 20 k ohms, we have 7.76. In Henrys, that's 4.20. If we split the coil, it drops our Henrys and our inductance down to 1.89. And 20 k ohm, we're at 3.91. That's at like 50% most of the time. I'm going to say that these pickups are in between. They've put a little charge on the magnets, and they're not overly wound. These aren't really hot pickups, guys. If we look at the treble, our bridge pickup, we only have 8.36. So these are wound very much. It's going to be a very vintagey type pickup. It's not a high output pickup per se, if that makes sense. And then looking at our neck, it's 7.76. So I'm thinking a more of a classic voiced type guitar with those readings. And remember, guys, these are readings, okay? Looking at those readings, for me, I would kind of go, I might not like these pickups. But I've also heard pickups with those readings that I liked. Just keep that in mind. They're readings, write them down. And I say this all the time, check your guitars, find a reading that you seem to gravitate to. And when you look at reviews, make sure they're checking the inductance and the ohms. And I'll be honest with you guys, that's a very simplistic way of checking pickups. There's so much more to it. You really need an O-scope to see where the sweep is, see if it's more mid-focused. Is it at 2K, 4K, 6K? Is it 250? Is it at 500? All these are kind of unknowns, if that makes sense, unless we put it under an O-scope and really look at it. So that's a very generic way of checking the pickups. All right, let's move on to our next thing. I guess the next thing we should check is neck relief. Since this is a Gibby, I'm going to say it's probably a 24.75 scale length. Yep, it is. So looking at it, with this gauge, I'm going to say it's probably 0.5 millimeters of relief. And we can check it with the StewMac gauge. Now this isn't checking the total distance. This is saying 0.3. So I'll stick with my original. Total relief is probably right around 0.5. So it's quite straight. Okay. Let's look at some action height. We have two different gauges. Whichever one we pull first, that's what we're going to check. And we're going Imperial. Tonight is Imperial night to start with. Look at that. So on the 12th, I'm going to say we're at probably like 0.058 on the low E. High E, I'm going to say it's probably like 0.055, 0.054 at the 12th. And for the real nerds that are out there, you can write that measurement down and you can check it to our metric and you can see how much parallax I had when I was looking at this. So let's look at our 12th in metric. I'm going to say that that's right at like 1.4, 1.5 millimeters at the 12th on the low E. And our high E, I'm going to say it's like 1.3. That's pretty good. And like I said, you're looking at it this way, so it's kind of hard. But I'm going to say that those are pretty accurate. So let's try to figure out our neck. So here's a 12 radius. I know it's definitely not a 20. It's not going to be a 17. Here's a 10. I doubt if it's a 7.25. I doubt if it's a 16. It could be a 15. 9.5 and 14. So let's start out at a 12-inch radius first. Wow. That's like fingernails going across the chalkboard. That actually looks pretty good. I'm going to check a 14 just to make sure I'm not. I see a little bit of a gap on either side of the 14. It's tight in the center. So I'm going to say that this is a 12-inch radius all the way up. And there is this, even on the 12, right here at the binding, it drops off a little bit due to a sanding error. But I'm going to say that this is a 12-inch radius, guys, according to my gauge. So 12-inch non-compound radius neck. Let's get these gauges over here. So now we're going to completely screw up the tune of the guitar. We're going to loosen the strings. And we're going to get you guys some measurements on this neck. If you're just tuning in, this is Music and Gear. On this channel, we don't plug the guitar in and tell you how great it is and tell you to go buy it. Now, YouTube will put links down below. Okay, it's called, what do they call that, hon?
The affiliate?
The affiliate. It's an affiliate link. I do get a kickback. So if you guys decide to buy an SG, please use the link down below.
They're auto-tagged.
Yeah, they're auto-tagged through YouTube. So I have no affiliation to Epiphone. If you think an Epiphone is a turd, an SG is a turd, that's fine. If you think they're great, that's fine. If you're thinking about buying one and this review pushes you over, my opinion does not matter. We're going over specs. You're going to listen to the guitar. If you choose to buy one, please use the link. But I'm not affiliated to Epiphone. I have no skin in the game. And I do not do YouTube for a living. So I'm not dependent on telling you that this thing is great, so you purchase it. Our affiliate links don't do very well just for that reason. But I'm about honesty, and I would rather be truthful with you, and then you make your own decision. And if someone says they're not biased, it's really hard not to be biased because it's an instrument. So how you bond with the instrument does affect how you play and how you respond to an instrument. I try to do the best job I can of just playing it. Okay? I'll give you my opinion, but it's just an opinion, if that makes sense. We're trying to find solid facts, guys. So far, the overall craftsmanship on the guitar seems to be pretty decent. In inches at the nut, we have 1.695. We convert that to metric, we have 43.8. At our 12th, we have 2.139. Switching to metric, that's 54.32. And looking at our very last fret, we have 2.259 inches. In metric, that's 57.38. Okay. Now here's where I'm going to kind of guess a little bit. Try to get it as accurate as I can possibly get it for you. String spacing at the bridge. In inches, I'm going to say it's 0.4175. In metric, that's 10.6. Going up to our nut. I'm going to say it's 0.257 inches. And that comes down to 6.53 between strings. The total distance between the E and the E, and you can average this out. There will be a discrepancy, guys, if you times it by 6. But if you do that, that'll give you an average based on my eyesight. So from E to E, we have 1.3565. And in metric, that's 34.45. Going down to our bridge, total distance between. .0135, 51.14. Now, guys, I'm doing that by eye. So take my first measurement times by 6. Look at the total distance. Divide those, add them together, divide by 2, and then divide by 6 again, and that'll be very close. But even those measurements are close. But if you want to get super picky, you could do it that way. All right, let's get some thicknesses. I'm going to kick the guitar out here a little bit. So at the first fret, we have 0.8435 inches. And in millimeters, that's 21.42. So it's thinner than I thought it would be. But I guess that's why people claim the SG has a thin neck. Let's look at our 12th. We have 0.926 inches. And in millimeters, that's 23.52. So there's more sweep on the neck than, like, let's say, an Ibanez. They usually only change by a millimeter. This one's changing by almost 2 millimeters. So it does get thicker as it goes down the neck. Okay, not to bore you guys, but we definitely need to put some tension back on the strings. So if you have one of these guitars, please post down in the comment section. Tell me what you think of it. This is just one guitar, and everyone knows they're like anything else. You can order one. You might get one of the best ones that ever come out of the factory, and you might get one of the worst ones that ever come out of the factory. We hope when we buy a major brand like this that amount that is bad is less, okay, due to, quality control. But that's not always the case. So that's why I kind of depend on you guys to come back and say, hey, I bought one of these and, I had absolutely no problems with it. Oop. I'm wondering why it's not changing. It helps to plug the guitar in. See, you only get this kind of content on a live review. So I got my tuner right here. So I'm going to bring it up to tune. Let me switch cameras and you guys can check out the tuner. So there's my Peterson strobe tuner. It's extremely accurate. We just want to get it in the ballpark. All right, go through, kind of stretch the strings here a little bit. One last tune. So the next thing we want to do, we want to look at the factory setup as far as the intonation and see how well the guitar was dialed in from the factory. We'll go through and give it 2 quick tunes. Try to get it close before we check the intonation. Okay. Let me slide this back a little bit because I think you guys can see everything. I want you to be able to see the first fretted note. So there's our E. You can see by the strobe tuner. And we want that rotation on the strobe to not rotate. And if anyone knows these type tuners, they're extremely sensitive. So there's our low E.
They see more of your hand than they do the guitar.
Yeah, well, I gotta pick the string. The main thing is the tuner. So we're gonna start on the low E. Now we want to do low E on the 12th. You can see on the 12th, it's just a little flat. Open. And our first fretted note. and we are sharp. So that immediately is telling me if we go to the 12th, you can see there, and then open. And if I go to the 1st, that the nut needs to be cut just a little bit. The F is sharp. So let's go to the A. Now these are conventional fret instruments, guys. If you go down the fretboard of your guitar, none of them are going to be correct. So, but I can kind of look at that and know if the nut height is right. After we get this done, we'll check the nut cut. But I'm going to say the low E is going to need a little attention on the nut. So there's our open A on the 12th. So it's a little sharp. Open on the 12th. It's a fraction sharp. Let's do our first fretted note. And our A sharp is sharp as well. Now that one will be a little better once you intonate the A, but you can see the first fretted note is sharper than our 12th. So I'm going to say the nut, again, has a little bit of room for adjustment. So there's our D. It's falling off a little bit. There we go. Very sensitive. Now I'm too sharp. Okay, there's our D. D on the 12th. And just a fraction sharp. D on the first fretted note. And our D sharp is a fraction sharp as well. Again, I think just a little bit of depth. And remember, guys, this is a factory setup, so they don't want to do too much. They're scared that if someone puts a different set of strings on the guitar and they want to lower that for a different gauge string, they want to make it to where the individual can come back and give it a little bit of a fine tune for the individual. And this is the string that always causes problems due to the pull on the string. So there's our G, G on the 12th. And our 12th is definitely sharp. Open. 12th. Yeah, it's definitely sharp. First fretted note. Definitely sharp. So the intonation on the G is a little out. Trying to get the B right. B on the 12th. And our B is just a fraction sharp. Check our first fretted note. That's the best one so far. High E. High E on the 12th. Open. 12th. Just a fraction sharp. Our first fretted note. Pretty decent. So what I was saying earlier, these are conventional fret guitars. So if we check our frets down through here, there's our open E. There's our F on the E. We're going to go down the E string. F sharp. G. You can see the G is sharp. Our G sharp is dead perfect. Our A is sharp. or A sharp is perfect, or B is sharp, or C is flat just a little bit, or C sharp, I'm going to say that's good, or D is sharp, or D sharp is flat, and there's our E. So the reason I point this out, there's another way of setting intonation. You don't necessarily have to put your 12th dead, okay, accurate to the open. You can look at all those notes across the fretboard. You have 12. You could say, I'm shooting for 6 flats and 6 sharps. And then that gives you an average intonation. Most people set up to the 12th, so if you're playing with other people, keep that in mind. If you're a lead guitar player, you probably want to set these notes to be more accurate than these. It's depending on where you're playing, okay? Because the further you come down here, the more drift there's going to be in the noting. These frets would have to do this down the guitar to intonate every note properly. So straight frets, that's what you get. We're just trying to get a setup to where the guitar has an average good playability. As far as the setup on this guitar, the intonation's okay. I've reviewed guitars that were worse. I'm going to say that this guitar is a little below average as far as the setup on the intonation on the guitar. And again, I don't know the history of this guitar. So whenever you change strings, let's say I set the intonation up with these strings and I get it perfect and I put Diodario XS on it, it's probably not going to be right. If I set intonation on the XS and I switch to Elixir or Cold Blue Steels, odds are that's going to throw the intonation out. So are these the original strings on the guitar when it was originally set? I don't know. I'm conveying to you what I see in front of me. So what I see in front of me is the intonation needs a little work. And we're going to look at the nut right now. Yeah, there's definitely some room on the E. Definitely room on the A. Yeah. The high E isn't horrible. The B just needs a little bit, but the 4 upper, there's a lot of room there. And before you go cutting on the nut, you want to make sure that you get the action height that you're where you want it to be, and then check it, okay? Because if you cut this nut and then you decide to lower the action, you could get some fret buzz on your first fret. So start high. If you're shooting for 0.065, maybe set it at 0.07. Get this cut, to where it's, well, I would start at 0.0, let's say a little lower. Let's say you're going for 0.065, maybe set it at 0.06. Get this set, okay, to where it's right, and then raise your action height to 0.065. That's going to give it just maybe a thousandth of an inch more up here. If you go back and look at our last Tech Talk, Brian kind of went over a very safe measurement to have on this first fret. I think he was at like 23 thousandths here and 18 thousandths on the high E. So keep that in mind. Those are safe measurements. You can always take a little material off, but if you cut down too deep, you end up replacing the nut. And on these guitars like this, sometimes when you go to knock this out, it can chip the finish, because sometimes this urethane will go over top of this nut and it'll puddle in here. It doesn't always happen, but when you go to knock this out, it can damage the finish, especially on a nitro guitar. So take your time. There's no sense in running and racing. It's your guitar, so take your time. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, take it to your local tech. It's not an expensive thing to ask for, a really good setup. If you do it yourself, just be careful with the nut if you go to replace it. All right, guys, are we missing anything as far as the fit and finish and going over this guitar. Has there been any comments on that we've missed something in this detailed review of this guitar?
No.
Okay, if you are familiar with this channel, you know we look at everything, and I think we did. When we come back from break, we're going to plug this guitar in. We're going to see what this thing sounds like. I've played it a little bit, and I can see why people like SGs. But before we get to the demo, if you haven't played an SG and you're curious, my point of view coming from playing guitar for, well, we're not going to go how many years. I don't want to let how old I am. The neck feels long. And the reason for that is, if you look, the body's all the way down at the end of the fretboard. So that kicks the body that direction, and the bridge and everything's forward. So the first time I played this guitar, I felt like my arm was out here doing my chording. And as I played the guitar, it became more familiar to me. But the first 5 minutes with this guitar, I noticed that the neck felt like it was out further. Even though that this is a shorter scale length, I play 25.5 scale lengths. This is 24.75. It still felt like a baritone. And the big issue that I have, not being an SG player, is muting. I find myself picking and getting down close to the bridge, and my hand falls back to the soap bar part. So I find myself having to almost lean forward in the guitar. If you guys agree with that, let's say someone in the chat went from conventional guitars and then bought an SG. Did you have that similar experience? Because this is the first SG I've ever played, and it just felt, it took me a little time to adjust to where the bridge was on the guitar and where to pick.
You're missing fret level, fret rocker, whatever you want to put
Oh,
it,
you
and
know.
and neck dive.
Oh, well, we did find the strap.
Don't ask me where it is.
It's laying over here. So, neck dive test. Since this isn't my guitar, I want to be kind of careful. So I'm going to try to get this strap on this guitar, guys. It has some big buttons. This is a brand new strap. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this strap on these buttons, guys. I hate to say that. Yeah, I would have to cut this strap. They are some monster buttons. Feeling the guitar right here. It's butt heavy right there. I don't feel on my lap when I'm sitting like this, it dives that direction. But trying to do the handshake, it's butt diving. Like I said, the strap horn is there. So I really want to be able to do this, but every guitar has different strap locks, strap horns, and you can see how this one's made. If I cut it out for this guitar, it's going to slip off other guitars. So we're not going to test this one for neck dive with the strap, but I did go out and buy a nylon strap. We may have to look at putting strap locks, but I hate to do that because then I got to back these straps out and put different screws in the guitar just to check it. So keep in mind, guys, that that's not my guitar. So I don't want to damage the instrument. But thank you for telling me that we forgot something. This is a fret rockering tool. If you're not familiar with this tool, and you've probably watched some other YouTube channels, and they put this tool on the guitar and they're doing this. It's like they're ice skating. If you're doing that to your guitar because you've watched another YouTube channel and you think that's how you check frets, you're doing yourself a disservice.
You might want to take your break first.
Ooh, yeah, we are running long. I tell you what, when we come back, we'll do the fret level because our reviews are long, guys. You guys come here because of that. I always ask you, are we missing something? We do the most detailed review on YouTube. And now, being that this is our first stream on Facebook, I can guarantee you we do the highest detailed review on Facebook. But that's why you guys come. When we come back, we're going to check the frets on this guitar. Then we're going to plug it in and listen to it. We take a 5. Yeah, it's usually about 8 minutes. Hit the restroom, get yourself something to drink, maybe get a Vegemite sandwich if you're from Australia. If not, maybe a grilled cheese if you're from America. Get a munchie. When we come back, we'll do some fret rockering, and we're going to listen to this Epiphone and see what it sounds like. If you haven't already, please go down, hit the thumbs up button. That does help. Emojis help. Comments. Go out of the video, leave a comment in the comment section, then come back in. Every comment really does help the YouTube AI system push the video out for new people to discover this channel. We do great reviews here. It's great content. We give a lot of great information away. Trade secrets. You know, Brian comes in. He's spent a long time working on guitars. He's telling you how he does things. I tell you how I do things. These are things that have value. So the only thing I ask is go down, hit the like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. All right? And we'll be back in about 8 minutes. And I got to make sure I hit the right button. Which button is it? I guess it's just the break scene, isn't it? Okay, guys, we are back. And during break, Linnell told me we did get an email from Steve. This was made at the SAMAC factory in Indonesia. So that's who manufactured this guitar for Epiphone. And that's according to Steve. So he must have looked it up. So that's who made this guitar. It is not a Cort. It is made by SAMAC. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those two companies make a lot of guitars. Trust me. All right. We want to go over fret leveling. This is how you want to check your frets. You have multiple sides on this tool, and it can only touch 3 frets at a time. Once you hit a 4th fret, the tool isn't doing what it really is designed to do. There is a little bit of relief on this neck. Okay, it's 0.5 millimeters in 25.5 inches. This tool is only checking a maximum of the distance between the 1st fret and the 3rd fret. 3rd fret. 0.5 millimeters in that total distance, this tool is not going to pick that 0.5 millimeters up. So, you know, if you've got a tremendous amount of relief and your neck looks like a banana, yeah. But in this case, you don't have to worry about it. But what you want to do, instead of taking your tool and sliding it across, when you slide it across, you're not applying even pressure. You may not realize it, but one side of your hand is applying pressure more than the other, okay? So if there's a high fret, it's just going to ride on the low fret and the high fret, okay? And it's going to graze across, and you're never going to know that the tool could hit this other fret because you're not rockering it. That's why it's called a fret rocker, because we have to lay the tool on the fret and rock it back and forth like this. It's not called a fret slider. This is a fret rocking tool. So that's how you want to check. We're going to start up here, and we're going to go through and we're going to check these frets. And right off the bat, right under the B string, 2nd fret is rocking. And it continues all the way up to underneath the A. Is it a lot of rock? Can you guys hear that? So it's not just barely rocking. It's not a tremendous amount of rock, but it is rocking. Now, since it is rocking right there, we want to make sure that it's not a low fret. Now, how you do that is you want to move up 1 other fret. If it rocks again, moving it from here to the next location, that's bad. That's not what you want. So this next location better be solid where it was rocking on the previous fret. And it is. So that is a high fret. Fourth fret below the B string. Continuing to rock to the E, high E, and below the high E. Moving down 1 fret, it's solid. It was solid above. So that is a high fret on the 4th. Fifth fret, between the D and the G, just a little bit. That is just barely there. And it disappears below the A. That spot wasn't bad. But I am pointing it out again. 6th fret below the E, high E. And move forward 1, solid. Back 1. And then it's solid. So it's just the very end of the fret under the high E. Seventh fret above the B. So just above the B, there's one little spot right there. Solid up. Thought there was one there, but it's not. So if someone's keeping track, I think we have 4 spots right now. Twelfth fret below the A. Just a fraction above the A string, and it disappears below the E. Just a little bit. Below the E string, 13th fret. That's below the high E. Fourteenth fret above the B, just barely rocking. Then disappears between the D and the G. It's not rocking there. And a little rock above the low E, 15th fret. Sixteenth fret below the A string. Disappears between the D and the G. Seventeenth fret above the low E. Disappears between the E and the A. Exact same fret below the B string. Just a little bit of rock. Ever so slight below the high E. So we have just, when I say just a little bit below the E, it is present. If I move forward one, there's just a little bit there. So that's telling me this one fret is just a fraction low. And that's under the high E. It is not doing that above the high E or at the high E. Like if I scoot the high E out of the way, I feel a little bit there, but if I move forward in that location, it's solid. And it's solid forward. So it's just out on the edge of the fret. So that's good news. No one's playing way out there. Eighteenth fret below the A. That one goes all the way down to about midway above the B string. Nineteenth fret above the E string. It's just above the B. This guitar has a lot of like smaller sections. That's most likely due to when the fret was crowned or touched up, that they just ground a little bit too much with the fret file, staying in one spot. When you start seeing it's just between two strings on this fret or that fret, that's usually a pretty good sign of that transpiring. So just in that location, pulling forward, it's solid. Back, it's solid. Twentieth fret below the A, between the D and the G. It gets worse above the B, and then it really disappears below the B, and then a little bit below the A. So that's telling me this is a crowning error in that fret. Going to our last spot. And a little bit of rock below our A. A little bit of rock above the A. And it's solid above the E. So it has a lot of spots. I only saw 2 spots that were what I'd call, something that I would worry about fixing. The rest of them are just crowning errors. And it's just off a little bit here and a little bit there. I'm not saying one thing or the other. I'm just letting you know that's my opinion, what's transpired here. And it could be something as simple as whoever did the crowning, maybe they'd only done it for a couple weeks and they're still learning. But this comes from taking the file and staying in one spot, okay, and then kind of working like that. That'll cause a low spot, okay, in the fret, or a high spot, okay. When you're crowning the fret and you have that black line, and you don't keep that black line the exact same thickness across the fret, and that black line gets thicker, do you know what that means? That means your crown isn't right, okay? Should the tool rock there? No, because it's flat. But let's say they ground in just a little bit. Let's say over here, and that line gets really, really thin, okay? There's no flat spot left. They go back through and they start hitting this with sandpaper, and they hit that spot and it grinds down a little bit. You start getting imperfections in the level of the fret. You know, we've got a low fret right in here. And I'm going to say that that's what that's from. In the dressing, they were just a little too aggressive. All in all, though, they're not horrible. I've seen guitars where the fret rocker really, really rocks. Like I said, this guitar is not bad. It's just, they're not level, if that makes sense. But they're not horrible. I know it's either good or bad. Are they level? No. Are they out of level really bad? No. Is this going to cause playability issues? I don't think so. None of them are that bad. There's only 2 frets that, if this was my guitar, that I might go through and just take a fret kisser and kind of clean up. But the rest of them, when I'm saying it's just barely rocking, you know, that's what it's doing. It's just barely rocking. And the action on this guitar is pretty low where it is right now. And I didn't notice anything playing the guitar. But it's my job to point out the consistency of the fret work. And the crowning is not consistent on the guitar, if that makes sense. So there's our result from what I found. So keep that in mind if you plan on buying one. All right, guys, I think we're ready to plug this guitar in and get some demo sounds on it. Let me see what we got here. I'm going to switch over to the HX Stomp, which I think we are plugged in. I need to unmute the guitar. Okay. I'm going to roll the cabinet out of the way. All right, let me pull up the HX Stomp editing software. What are we on? We're on Clean Tones. So I'm going to go to this channel volume. Doesn't seem very loud, does it? So we're going to start out in our bridge position. All the volumes, all the tones are all the way up. We have a lot of different settings, guys, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but we are going to keep it in the humbucker mode for right now. It's got a nice sound. I kind kind of like the breakup that the guitar has. I'm going to bring the volume up just a little bit more. You can hear it. So let's split the coil on that. This is coil split. Humbucker. Coil split. So you can definitely hear we lose output. Now this is the pickup in coil split mode. You can hear it's got a nice open sound to it. It's got a nice sound. Let's go up to our center position. This will be both humbuckers. And you can hear it definitely gets meatier sounding. Let me move the mic forward a little bit. I think I need to bring that down a little bit and change it in the software. Now in this position we're using both, so let's split just the bridge. Humbucker, split on the neck. Both split. The big thing that I'm hearing, there's quite a bit of difference in the volume. It's got a nice clean sound to it. Let's go up to our neck position. I like the neck positioning clean. It's very warm sounding. Let's split that pickup into a single coil. And you can instantly hear the difference in volume. It really just, it kills it. And that's a shame. I like the sound. It just loses its butt. It's got a nice healthy sound to it. Open chords. It's got a nice sound. All right, let's go to dirt. Everyone wants to hear what it sounds like dirty. Little too much. That's humbucker. Let's split the coil. Humbucker. Sounds good. Middle position. For me, the neck coming down and it plays with me where the bridge is. That's our center position. Oh, let me unmute Linnell. What'd you say?
More gain.
More gain. Well, we're almost to more gain. Let's check out our neck position real quick. It's not bad, guys. Now you guys are wanting more gain, huh? So let's switch over to the high gain channel. You can tell these are 8K pickups, guys. So you can hear it. That's the difference. You've got. I think the bridge was testing at like 8.5 at 20 km. So this isn't it's not going to be a high gain guitar. The pickups in it aren't voiced for that. And this is my high gain channel. So if I plug my Schecter into it, it's going to have a lot more balls, if that makes sense. It's just these pickups. So what you can do, you can boost the guitar before it goes into the preamp to give the pickups a little bit more boost. But I could have told you that it wasn't going to be hairy sounding. I think it was like 8.5 or 8.3K on the bridge. So you know, it's got that sound. That's what the guitar is voiced for, stuff like that. You can hear it, it just has that sound. That's just these type pickups. Let's go up to the center position. Yeah, it's just got that sound. Up to our neck position. Yep. Remember, the neck was like 7.5. I think it's voiced, you know, correctly for what they were going for. Let's do some goofing off. Let's make the guitar do what it was definitely not technically designed to do. Drop D tune. We are in the bridge position. It just has that old school's kind of tone to it. I think it does really good on the drop D, playing that style, playing more modern. It plays nice. It's got a nice feel to it. Bring our E string back up to E. It's got a nice breakup to it. I'd say all in all, it's a nice guitar. You know, pickups are taste, guys. If you were expecting, you know, a hair metal guitar, I don't think this guitar is voiced for that. I think it's voiced for exactly the way I was playing it. Maybe you can get into that. That's where these pickups want to live. Yeah, everyone messes up. I think that's what the guitar is good at, playing. I mean, listen to that open E. G. I think it has a sound. I've said this a bunch of times. I bought a Telecaster because it had a sound, and only a Telecaster gives you that sound. This guitar has a particular sound to it. I think if you want that sound, that's the SG sound. I think it's pretty nice. I'm not getting any bad. I'm not hearing any bad spots. If you know the channel, guys, we're here about product information. And this is the Epiphone SG-Pro. What do I think of the guitar? Is it, well, I'll qualify it. Is this guitar for me? I don't play that style of music. I did my best playing that style of music. I got to really watch what I do because YouTube will give you a bunch of copyright strikes. But I tried to emulate stuff that I think this guitar would be really good at voiced at playing. It plays really nice. The only thing I noticed on playing it, and it could be the strings, it feels like it takes a little more effort to bend. Like when I'm trying to get that little, it feels like it takes a little bit more to, the double stops. It seems like it takes a little bit more to get it to bend, and I find that strange because a 24.75 should be a little easier to bend. It's an impression that I'm getting, so I'm conveying that to you. And it could be maybe the strings have been on the guitar for a while. But it plays effortlessly. I will give the guitar that. it didn't take long for me to kind of adjust. And like I said, it feels like the open notes are out that way. And you can hear we're just a little bit out of tune. So it's our D is a little flat. Our G's a little sharp. Our B's a fraction flat. And our E's a fraction. I don't think that's horrible. Like I said, I think the nut needs just a little bit of work. I think the back of the nut needs to be cleared out just a little bit. And I would say that's from me doing those double stops. And I'm deliberately beating up the guitar. And I get it's probably the G. Yeah, the G has went sharp again. So that's telling me that this nut needs just a little bit of clearance on the back, because when I'm pulling up on it, what it's doing, the tension's getting here, and when it's releasing back and forth, it's hanging up just a little bit. So you can hear that. And that, guys, is a pretty easy fix. It's just a little bit of clearance on the nut. That's really what I'm finding on the guitar. The intonation was not as good. I would say it's below average for a factory setup. I don't know the history on the guitar, but it's a little below average on the factory setup. And I'd say the nut needs a little dressing. It needs to be cut down just a little bit. There's a little bit of playroom here on the nut. But the guitar plays great. I think if you work on this nut, get that straight, that's really going to help this guitar play. I don't think, the frets, we did level them. There's a bunch of spots here and there on it. I'm not feeling it in the playing. It's easy to get the pulls on the chording. And frets that aren't smooth, it's hard to get that, because one string will move a little freer than the other. So the fretwork is consistent as far as the polishing. I just feel that when they crowned it and they cleaned them up with the paper, I think they were just a little too aggressive on them and got them just a little bit out of whack. All in all, I'd say it's a good guitar. You have to make your own decision. If you're thinking about purchasing this guitar, this is what I've seen. This is just one guitar, guys. This is my first SG review. I've reviewed a couple Epiphones, and this one's a little under the last two Epiphones that we checked as far as fret leveling. But the other two Epiphones I checked were twice the price of this one. So you got to keep that in mind as well. Again, this channel's here for product information. If you bought one of these guitars and you had a completely different experience, okay, you got your guitar and it was 100% perfect, I need you to go down in the comments section below and tell me, what is it about the guitar that you like? Okay. That's what we need. If you bought the guitar and you had some issues with it, maybe it come and it had a bunch of high frets, or maybe the tuning keys aren't too good, or you had pickup issues. That's what the comment section is for. Please just don't post, hey, this guitar sucks. That doesn't help anybody. Please post what you found wrong with it, okay? And after enough people post, you can start to get an idea. Does Epiphone have an issue with this or that? Or if you don't get any of those posts and you continuously get posts that I got one and it was a great playing guitar and I love it, then that gives other people a really reassuring feeling. Okay. So please post honestly, because that's what this channel is about. It's about honest reviews. And I think that's about as honest as we can get on this. I love the look of this guitar. The cherry finish. This is a freaking beautiful guitar. I mean, how can you not like that guitar? And it surprised me with the push-pulls. I did not expect the push-pulls. I will say, unless you have a boost to boost that up and you're out playing live and you pull this, you're going to lose a third of your volume. You guys go back, listen to it, and you're going to see you're going to lose a lot of output. What's the fix for that? There's a couple things you can do, but the guitar stock, you lose quite a bit on the push-pulls. But everything feels nice and smooth, guys. Okay. Now we're open for questions, because if everyone knows, what we try to do is I'm trying to repost videos as we do the lives, because a lot of people, they don't want to sit and watch me rocker frets and carry on for, 2 hours, going over the fit and finish on the guitar and everything else. So that allows me to go back and edit the video and edit it down for future people to watch. So what questions do we have on the guitar?
Are you going to dress up the frets?
It's not my guitar, so if Steve asks me to work on it, right now we're like stupid behind on everything because work's been crazy, life's been crazy. So yeah, it's going to be hard for me to do that. But if Steve wants it done, they're not in bad shape. This is a pretty easy one to fix. There's nothing, horrible on the guitar. It just needs just a little bit taken off all the frets. And I'm going to say that because they're so spotty across the board. There's just like one spot here, one spot here. So the best way to resolve that and get it right is to do a very, very, very light fret level, just to where you hit them down, and then do a nice accurate recrown on the frets. That's something you could do. Do you need to do it? Absolutely not. The guitar plays fine the way it is, but if you want it to be perfect, that's what you're going to have to do, because we did find one fret that's low. So the only way to resolve it is you've got to take the other frets down just a little bit. The good news is it's just barely low, so he doesn't need to take that much off of them to fix it. We got another one.
Was there any white powder substance in the pickup cavity?
We did not take the pickups out of the guitar, because on this guitar I would have to take the strings off of it. I didn't see any compound from polishing back in here, and the routing looked good. So I'm not seeing any compound residue anywhere on the guitar from polishing.
And what were you running it through again?
Everything you heard tonight, guys, is Line 6 HX Stomp. That was the clean sound, that was the crunch sound, and that was the high gain sounds. So it was all modeled amplifiers. There's no amp in the room, if that makes sense. So it was a simulated cabinet, a simulated amplifier, and digital effects. For streaming and doing what we're doing here, it just seems to work the best. I mean, I have a full rack mount amplifier over here that's full tube, and that means I have to bring that amplifier up to about 105 decibels in the room to make it break up right. That puts a mic in front of it. I have open microphones here. It's a lot of problems, if that makes sense. Is one better than the other? I think there's a place for both. So I've been working on my HX Stomp settings. I think those settings are pretty good. I didn't really modify them, if that makes sense. I have 6 settings that we're using to test all the guitars. So if you remember, we were playing the RGA through it and the Fender Telecaster through it, and the Schecter the other week through it. So we haven't built enough guitars up to really give you a reference. But this guitar sounds, if you look at bright or bassy, this guitar is mid to the bottom. It's got a beefier sound. It's not bright. So it's definitely not Strat-y sounding like a single coil, but the humbucker is on the darker side. That's what I'm hearing on the guitar. It's a little on the darker side, if that makes sense. And I didn't want to go through and adjust my EQs and stuff. I wanted that darker sound to come through the review. And if it didn't sound like that on your end, that's great. Okay. I'm referencing it because I've been playing a Telecaster a lot lately in my RGA. Compared to those 2 guitars, this is a little darker sounding than the RGA and much beefier sounding than the Telecaster, which it should.
Got a super chat from Annoying Critic.
Ooh, thank you, Mr. Annoying Critic. If you didn't know, the Super Chats is what funds the channel. It also funds guitar giveaways. If you didn't know that, we try to give a guitar away every other month. Okay? That's what we shoot for. It takes a lot of money to do this, guys. It really does. We have one more payment on the wing rack over here. If you guys can see it, the wing rack's in the rack right here. Let me see if I can minimize the HX Stomp. So this is our new mixing board. And I know if you're old school, you're like, well, where's the knobs? Well, there are no knobs, there are no sliders. It's all rack mount controlled by the computer. So still got one more payment on that, and we want to get some better cameras. I don't know if these cameras have grayed out any tonight. If they haven't, great. It'll be the first stream that we haven't had a gray out on the camera.
They did.
See, they always gray out at some point. That's okay. It's a small channel. We're growing. So Super Chats funds equipment, which will be cameras next, and then probably some type of microphone right here instead of the microphones that we have here. Because as I move, you can definitely hear there is a difference. So lapel mics and cameras are coming. And we're going to stick with the Line 6 Stomp. And if you guys want, we can do a live stream one night with the rack mount amplifier again. That was a lot of fun. We did it for about 5 straight weeks, trying to dial in the tube amp. I mean, it's cool. I love my tube amp. It's never going to be sold. But doing live streams and doing what we're doing here, being able to speak to you through the microphones, the Line 6 HX Stomp works really well.
What guitar is it again?
This is the Epiphone SG-Pro. It really is a beautiful guitar, guys. I love the color. And what's nice is it looks red, but this is a stain. You can see all the grain, the dark lines in the mahogany. It's really stunning. And what really blows my mind is there's no seam. So, I mean, it's a one-piece body that just, for an Epiphone, that just blows my mind. I don't think I've ever seen a $600 guitar with one solid chunk of mahogany. And I can see this large chamfer here, and that chamfer goes from here to here. That's a good 1/4 inch low. So I'm not seeing a seam where they seem to top. I mean, that's stupid nice for this price point. And I know there's going to be, well, I can get a blah, blah, blah for $250, but yeah, the one thing I'll say about Firefly can't put a piece of wood on their CNC straight to save their butt. I ordered 2 or is it FFDCs, which is the double cut, and it had this translucent finish, and the grain of the guitar went like this to the neck. I sent both of them back. And I get on their website and I look, and the grains are going crooked. So they haven't quite figured out to orient the grain in the direction of the neck yet. So there's a big difference. Plus the both of them that I got, the one had 3 separate pieces of wood, and the other one had, I think, 4 pieces of wood. And you can see it. You can see the line. Like this piece of mahogany is dark, then there's a light one. This is so consistent because it's one piece. That's what I'm seeing the most on this guitar, is the consistency of this wood.
Yeah, Steve said the top solid mahogany.
It's stupid nice. I mean, it blows my mind that there's not a seam in that for this price. And if you're not into that and you're like, well, I don't care, then you don't care. But at this price point, to get a solid, to have that look, that's something. I've never seen that before. Now, I do see a seam line right here. Okay, and that's from where this piece of wood was this thick, and then they put a block on here and then machined it out. But that's the only body line that I see on the guitar from a seam. It's right there at the headstock. Can you guys see that? And it's done very well. You can barely see it. So it's literally right in the center of this white sticker. It cuts right across there. So it's done well. There is a seam there. Okay, guys, if that's all we have, I want to thank everyone for coming and checking out the live review. We really do try to do the best reviews on YouTube. You know, is it a fast review? Absolutely not. It's not. But I try to do as much as I possibly can for everyone so you can see what the guitar has to offer. I think we do cover everything. We covered the inlays, we covered the binding, we covered the neck. I mean, this is a nice guitar. I like the sound. It has that SG sound. You know, always keep that in mind, guys. I'm sure Epiphone has different models with different pickups. This particular one, that's, you know, we check the pickups. That's the output of the pickups. That's the sound you get. I think it's a cool sound. Is this a, you know, does it sound like the Schecter? No, it's not supposed to sound like my Schecter, you know. Does it sound like a Jim? It's not supposed to sound like a Jim. The best way I can describe this guitar, it has an SG sound. That's what an SG sounds like. I just bought a Telecaster because I wanted a Tele sound. And I said, well, I'm going to put pickups on it. And I'm like, no, I bought the darn thing because I wanted the Telecaster sound. So if you're looking for that Angus Young breakup, you know, there's not a lot, you know, Angus Young isn't drenching in distortion, guys. You know, it's the way the man plays and the way he attacks. The guitar has a tone, and the way the man plays the guitar gives it that sound. And this guitar has that sound. I just don't play a lot of AC/DC. Plus, if I played it, I get a copyright strike. But this guitar, that's what it's for. You know, that it's got that sound. And if you want that sound, this is the guitar for you. And I'm sure it's less than a third of the price of the Gibson. So, Indonesia, Samak is who made this. All right, guys, please go down, hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We work really hard to do the best reviews on YouTube. And don't forget, we're going to go live on Saturday night. Saturday night's Gear Chat Hangout. So that's where we just go through and talk about everything that you guys want to talk about. Whatever the topic is, wherever it goes, that's what we end up talking about. I do want to make a rule. I am sick of hearing about Fender. I made a comment last Saturday night about Fender. That was long before everyone else jumped on the bandwagon. I can't watch YouTube and do a scroll without some channel talking about Fender. it is what it is, guys. You know, and if you want to burn your fender, burn your fender. I work too hard to burn my Telecaster. I'm not going to burn my Telecaster because guess what? In a year and a half, everyone's going to be fine about it. You know, I remember this exact same thing over the Gibson crap with Dean guitars 2 years ago. Gibson's still selling guitars. So it's going to pass. If you have a Fender, just keep it. You know, it's a good quality instrument. You bought it because you wanted it. Don't let the YouTuber saying I'm going to burn my Fender into firewood and all this. Just it's a guitar, and you bought it before Fender turned to Gibson, or however you want to say it. But this Saturday night, I just don't want to kind of go over it. If that's, you know, I said in my piece last Saturday, I'm just so tired of seeing Fender things. You know, and I was so happy. I'm like, look, we get to review a Gibson product, a Gibson Epiphone. So that was cool. All right, guys, please go down, leave us some comments, thumbs up, and please subscribe. And hopefully I'll see everyone Saturday night. We are going to do our 5-minute ending window so everyone can say goodbye. And any suggestions that you guys have that you feel that'll make this channel better, that's also what the comment section's about as well. So thank you very much, guys, and hope to see everyone Saturday night. And this is our first time that we streamed back-to-back, YouTube and Facebook. So we're going to try this for about a month, and then we're going to add another platform, either Twitch or Spotify. I don't know which one yet, but we definitely want to hit 3 sources at one time. My computer has definitely been able to handle it, so let's try this for a month. If it handles it, then let's try 3 separate sources. So my goal is to have the stream crash. Just kidding. All right, guys. Hope to see everybody Saturday night. And I got to figure out which button.